everybody. Hey, grievers and groovers. How you doing today? Wednesday, November 29th. I just did yoga today, so I haven't stopped. I've been going, this will be my third 2.5 week, third week mark. So getting out of the griefy vibe and trying to get back into shape. So, or just less of a squishy shape, I think. But we'll see. Doing yoga about 3 or 4 times a week now. So I'm very proud of myself. I'm not a very boastful person, but I will boast that I've gotten off of my ass and actually stretched a little bit and gone to yoga. So I'm happy with that. Today is the deathversary of George Harrison. So I wore my Beatles shirt today. Oh, you can't see George. There's George. And 2001. So it's been 16 years since George transitioned. It's crazy to me. I was just wondering if you remember where you were when you heard the news about George. I weirdly was on the road traveling with my friend and my favorite, one of my favorite rock stars. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, Glenn Tilbrook from Squeeze. There's a band called Squeeze. It usually takes 3 or 4 deeper questions for you to know who I'm talking about. And I'm used to this because I made a documentary on the lead singer of Squeeze, and they'd say, "Oh, who's that?" And I'd say Glenn Tilbrook, and they were like, "Don't know." And I said, "What about Squeeze?" "Don't know." "What did they sing? Did they have any hits?" "Well, no, but they sort of had a hit with Tempted." And they said, "Oh, what song is that?" "Hey, Kim." When they ask what song, then I have to go, "Tempted by the fruit of another." And they're like, "Oh, I know that song." And I'm like, "Yes, okay, so that's who it is." And funnily enough, behind me, I'm sitting in my living room, by the way, because I thought I would have the Christmas tree with all of the decorations on it. I've got my Christmas tree in the shot, so I'm in my living room. So if you can see right where my finger is, boom, that is the movie poster for the documentary that I did called Glenn Tilbrook One for the Road. And we were shooting it in 2001. We were in, the movie is about Glenn going on the road in an RV. And so we were in an RV repair shop at that time, spending the night in an RV repair shop because Glenn had a gig the next night. And that's when I heard the news that George had passed, and my phone basically exploded because everybody was texting and messaging me because obviously I'm a huge rock and roll fan, but the Beatles are part of my heart. So yeah, it was a tough day. And just reading things about it and just trying to keep up to date what was going on. And I do remember when I first joined Glenn on the road to shoot the documentary, we had heard in stages that George Harrison has cancer. Now he's getting, a little more ill. And now he's in, I don't know, I can't remember, Switzerland or somewhere trying to be treated. And then he was in New York. And, so wherever we stopped, whatever radio station we stopped at to do promotions or whatever, we would always try and be like, okay, what's going on? What's the latest with George? And then sadly, the day came, 16 years ago today, when his soul transitioned. But I wanted to read this amazing the statement that his family released because I loved it. And it says, "He left this world as he lived in it, conscious of God, fearless of death, and at peace, surrounded by family and friends." Ugh, I love that. And he often said, "Everything else can wait, but the search for God cannot wait, and love one another." I love that. It made me feel better. It was comforting to know that George Harrison was fearless of death and at peace. And just from what I know of him from the outstanding documentary, Living in the Material World, I think that's what it was called. At this point in my age, I can hide my own Easter eggs. But in a documentary, they were talking about how when he was attacked at his home months earlier, he was surprised. He just thought, "Oh, am I going to die this way? Wait a minute," and in his mind, he thought, "I haven't had time to prepare." So the fact that he had time to prepare for his death, kind of spiritually and probably otherwise, was comforting to me to know that he knew that his time was ending. And then I also have a quote from Danny Harrison, his son, from 2012. So that was just 5 years ago. But I just thought I would share it since all the grievers and groovers out there can probably relate. When asked about the passing of his father, George Harrison, he said, "Death crushes you, but that's what forms you. You get hammered, and they heat you up and hammer you, heat you up and hammer you, and eventually you're a sword. You're brave, and you're ready to be your own man." Come on. How great is that? And then there was another quote from Olivia Harrison saying, "So we tried not to be sad, but instead celebrated the life and music of a great artist, the beautiful, quiet one from Liverpool who became a man of many words as well as worlds, a wise and coveted friend, father and seeker who transcended the distractions of success and fame to maintain a one-pointed focus upon his goal of spiritual awakening. He did all of this while entertaining the world and having an equal measure of fun along the way." I love that. You can't say that he didn't have a life well lived. And so that makes me feel a lot better. Speaking of feeling better, and it's kind of in keeping with that quote, actually, I'll be honest with you, I've been feeling a little griefy now that Christmas is rolled around, and this will be the first Christmas in my place, or as I call it, the rock pad, since first Christmas since my dad died. Now, last Christmas, I got the hell out of Dodge because I thought I can't handle it. I want to go somewhere different. And so I left town. So this is actually the first Christmas in my own home with my decorations. I call them Christmas decorations because a lot of them were my mom's. This is my mom's little silver tree. My mom had Parkinson's, and so towards the end, she just, couldn't, deal with the hassle of like a huge tree and, dealing with all of that. And so I love that she got like a little silver tree. So the red lights on the silver tree are actually hers, and so are all the decorations. And I have a little, where is it? Can I grab one? I don't see it. Oh, here's one. One thing I love is I only have two of these that my mom, or a few more of these that my mom had. These are actually from my mom and dad's first Christmas tree on their first Christmas together. So I love these. And you can look these up on Etsy too. That's a little tip. If you've got a Christmas decoration or a toy or any kind of Christmas knickknack, which I'm a big fan of, if you want to, from your childhood, if you want to replicate it or get a replacement or get something, like that, you can go on Etsy. Etsy is the best. I just typed in, there was this crazy, like plastic Santa face that my aunt and my uncle had. We went over to their place every year at Christmas Eve, and they had it hanging on their doorknob. And then there was a little pull cord, and then it like tinkled jingle bells or something, like a little music box. And I was just on Etsy one night and I thought, let me see. So I just wrote Santa pull cord jingle bells, and it came up. There were 3 of them on sale, for sale, I should say. But they were a little expensive. They were over $30. So I thought, why would I want to spend that much money just on a memory? But anyway, getting back to what I was talking about, the griefy thing, I was feeling griefy, oh, mom and dad aren't here. And I had my friend over, and as I was taking decorations out of the box and, hanging them up, I was telling her different stories. And her parents are still alive, but she was saying, "Oh, I bet it's kind of hard at the holidays." And then we started just making up really sort of inappropriate lyrics for Christmas songs, and just like, instead of deck the halls, we were just like, both of my parents are dead. Fa la 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 la. It's just kind of like no one sending cards or presents. La 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 la. And so we just started laughing and making a joke of it, even though it's a very real thing. But I started thinking, instead of, like, last night, I was feeling really kind of sad and wistful, and because Christmas is a very nostalgic time, and you clearly think of when you were a kid, because Christmas is really for kids, and it did feel magical, and you did think that Santa was real, and you know the Grim Reaper was far, far away from your thoughts. um, but it made me think, well, wait a minute, I keep focusing on the fact that my parents aren't here. My parents aren't here. I can't talk to them. I can't call them, and that was just making me sad and sad and sad. And then I kind of flipped the script, and then I thought, well, it's kind of like, let's think about their life instead of about their death, just like Olivia Harrison talked about with George, how we celebrated his life. And then I was thinking, what would my parents be doing if they were alive today? And it reminded me that my dad was, even though he was only 72 when he died, his health was declining. He couldn't do the things that he used to be able to do. And the same thing with my mom. She was 67 and she had Parkinson's. And we now know or think that she was at the very end of being able to be independent when she died suddenly. So that actually made me, in a weird way, made me feel better, that it's literally just my hurt that I'm focusing on because I wish that they were here. But if I really think of them and the fact that they are rocking it out in the next dimension right now, and they don't have to worry about bills, they don't have to worry about, what to get me for Christmas. They don't have to worry about Christmas card lists or anything like that, So there's a lot of worry and, just sad stuff that they're free from. They don't have to deal with that anymore. And so that actually, I think really helped me kind of turn a corner. And then also I felt kind of weird that I was still feeling griefy because it had been so long since they had passed. It's been 5 years since my mom passed, and just let's see, a little, like a year and a half, a little more than a year and a half, I guess, than when my dad died. And to the outside world, they're like, just move on, it should be over already. And for the most part, it is. I mean, I'll be honest, my heart still feels really kind of broken about it all, but it's definitely not as heavy as it was. And so that gives me hope and makes me happy that I'm getting through it. So I'm just wondering how you guys are getting through the holidays. Just know that whatever you decide to do is right for you, and don't let anyone make you feel guilty over your decisions. I have a really good friend who offered to have me come over to her place for Christmas, but I don't know if I'm going to. And maybe I'll just have our own private Christmas and go over there and then just spend Christmas here at the Rock Pad. I don't know what I want to do. And I'm allowed to not know. And I'm also allowed to change my mind at the last minute because, maybe when Christmas morning comes, I mean, look, Christmas is coming no matter what. So, it's just, I'm going to decide and just see how I feel. Just do a little check-in and see if I feel like it. I am wearing my festive Jingle Bell earrings that my mom gave me. My mom loved the holidays, like so many moms out there. And I always bust out all of her Christmas earrings to wear. and I think of her. And I'm glad I ended up decorating. I was a little unsure if I was going to decorate or not, but I'm glad that I did. You know, it definitely makes me feel closer to my spiritual support team. Once I ended up putting up the decorations, I definitely got a few signs, and I always joke that my loved ones like to play cosmic DJ because for some reason, every once in a while I'll just tune in. I call it the cosmic antenna. It just is like doot doot doot, and it just tunes into something, and then I just feel like it's my loved ones letting me know that they're around, and that they're okay. I posted some pictures of some of the decorations on my Instagram. Oh, if you guys want to come over to follow me on Instagram, it's at Good to Go Peace. Also, I'm on Twitter at Good to Go Peace, and of course on Facebook here at Good to Go Peace. I'd love to see you over on Instagram. I'm starting to learn how to do the stories and those kind of things, so we'll see what I can come up with in the coming days. But yeah, so I just wanted to know how you guys are getting through the holidays, if you're gonna decorate, if you're not, if you're making new traditions. My Thanksgiving was really nice. I went over to Christina Kuzmich, her place for a pre-Thanksgiving Thanksgiving, and we went live from her place last week, which was really super fun. And the video that we did, or our live, got over 73,000 views. That's what? That's like, that's almost like a big, gigantic concert in a stadium amount of people. So that was really great because it made me happy to know that the message of, advanced planning and the fact that, you're not alone in your grief got out to that many people. So that makes me happy. But I went to hers for Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving, and that was really lovely. And she made the most amazing Nutella pecan pie, which is unbelievable. And I literally finished up her leftovers yesterday. I've been eating them every day. I'm a little hammed out. I'm not going to lie. She made a lovely, delicious ham, but I'm a little hammed out. And then on actual Thanksgiving, a really good friend of mine whose mom has died, and she's been so great because her mom died before I had any kind of death in my family. So she's really been rock solid for me. So she was going to dinner with her dad and her stepmom in downtown LA, and asked if I wanted to join them for dinner. So it was good. It felt, although I was feeling kind of griefy on the day, and I kind of thought, oh, do I really want to go out to eat? Because I was all in my comfy pants and all snugly warm. And I had the free view of Showtime and HBO. But I was just like, nope, let's do it. So scrubbed up and dressed up and went downtown and had just the sweetest, loveliest Thanksgiving meal with her and her family. And so that was really nice. And I just appreciated being invited, to be honest with you. I mean, there is something about death that friends just drop like flies. I don't know what it is, but well, I mean, I've talked about it a lot. I've talked about it with my friends who are death midwives. I've talked about it with my friends who are therapists. There is just something about your friends sort of not knowing what to say, or they know they can't fix it for you, so they just don't reach out or don't get in touch with you. I don't know. It is so weird and it really surprising. I mean, I had like soul friends who just dropped me like a hot cake. So if any of you are watching out here, out in the internet land, if any of you know anybody that's grieving or has lost someone, even if it was 2 years ago or 5 years ago, or if you know that they're missing someone that's important to them, just reach out and say, hey, I was just thinking of you, and, thinking of your loved one. And if you mention the loved one's name by name, that's really huge. it makes me so happy when my mom's friends get in touch with me and say, hey, I was thinking of Leslie today, or, I thought of you and I know your mom would love this, and, things like that. I love that because it shows that other people are thinking of your loved one besides you. I mean, obviously we're thinking of our departed loved ones because it's all our brain can fit in, but just reach out and just say, hey, just wondering if the holidays might be a little tricky for you, and if so, just know that I'm here. I mean, Christina sent me a text and just said, look, I know the holidays are probably going to be rough, and just let me know if I can do anything to help. If you just want to vent, I think she said if you just want to grief vent. I think she thought she made up a new term, grief venting, all one word. But that's it. I mean, you just want to know that your friends are there if you want to talk, or if you want to not talk, or just to have somebody there. It's really, really important. And you don't have to fix it. You don't have to fix their grief. Grief can't be fixed. It can only be kind of softened gently over time. But it's just important to when someone close to you dies, you already feel very alone and isolated, and because you feel you are left by that person. And so you can be, in a family, in your home, living with other people, and still feel alone and still feel isolated from that death, even though you've got a support system around you. So you can't fix that. You can't, you know, make them, not feel that anymore. It's just, you can just be there, just listen, just be there and listen, and call and text and invite them over for, if you're having a huge holiday meal and you have 25 people coming or whatever, what's one extra, or two extras, just put the invitation out there, because the holidays are such a tough time for so many people. It's just, it's a rough time. And it can also be rough if, you didn't have the Hallmark card family, and don't get me wrong, even though I loved both of my parents, and I never, had any super hardcore issues with them or anything, they were not perfect. And, but that's where your grace and forgiveness comes in as you get older. And I'm very happy to say that I was extremely close with both my mom and my dad at the time of their deaths, and that also brings me great comfort that I know that I was a good daughter, and that they trusted me, and they knew that I would, I would handle whatever comes my way, and whatever came their way, I would help them handle it. So that makes me feel happy too. But we're gonna wrap up here. It was so good to hang out with you guys, and I would love to see if you have any ornaments that have a sentimental value to you, or a fun memory attached to it. Kind of like my lone little candy cane from 1964 or 5, probably a little bit for 63 maybe. I would love to see your ornaments. So either post them on your page and tag Good to Go, or post them in the comments of this live video. I would love to see them, and just sending out so much love if you're grieving, and sending out love if you're not grieving. That's okay too. I do want to remind everybody, if you guys want to buy your Good to Go departure files, to do so at least within the next couple of weeks, because the post office, it's going to take a little longer because of the season. And those are available on my website. Hi, Kate Anderson. I'm just wrapping up just as you're tuning in. And that was another question I had too. Should I keep going live at 4 p.m. or should I make it a little later? It's 7 p.m. East Coast time, 6 p.m. Central time, and midnight in England, but in Europe, Greenwich Mean Time, GMT time. Hi. So I'm wondering if I should maybe go a little bit later because I am in Los Angeles and I know that a lot of the grievers and groovers who live on the West Coast are still at work. They can't take 20 minutes out just to watch some curly haired hippie lady, uh, some curly haired rock and roll chick talking about grief. So I'm just wondering if I should maybe do it at a different time, as in a little bit later. But anyway, that's for the future to ponder and think about. But while you're together at the holidays with your family, please, please, please talk about advanced planning. I know some people are reticent about bringing it up. I know that some people think that that's not a very holiday festive topic, but I'm telling you, uh, it can actually be a learning experience. You'll get to learn a lot about your loved ones, and you can share your wishes, what you would like, just the basics. Just say, hey, if suddenly you got hit by lightning and you were in a coma, who's going to make decisions for you, And then tell them who you've chosen to make decisions for you and what would you want? Would you want extraordinary measures taken? Would you, these are so important to ask your loved ones. And so many people never do it because they think it's too morbid or they think it's weird or it's not festive or not appropriate for Christmas. I'm telling you, you've got to talk to your loved ones. Imagine the reticence of talking about advanced planning around the holidays with your loved ones and compare that kind of awkwardness or reluctance to you're in an emergency room, you've just gotten the call, you have no idea what's happening. It's literally the chaos of illness, the chaos of an emergency situation. And they say to you, oh, are you the daughter? Or, oh, are you the wife or mother? What does the person need? What does the person want? And then you're thinking like, we didn't talk about it because it was awkward and we didn't know what to talk about and we didn't want to talk about it at Christmas, So imagine your reluctance now and then try to envision if you're in an emergency situation and someone asks you, and I don't mean just someone, I mean like a medical team, doctors are asking you, what does this person want? What do you think that they would want? And then imagine never having talked about it. And you're just thinking, man, I wish Amy would have, been there to really in person kick me in the butt to have that discussion. Because here's the thing, and I am tying it in with grief because it all goes together. It will make your grief less complicated. It allows you the freedom to grieve and mourn at your own pace instead of constantly having to figure out what the password was for the electric bill and, things like that. It cuts down on doubt, uncertainty, anger. It can cut down on fights if, somebody is rock solid on what that person wanted. It's just going to make things easier for you guys in the long run. It is the most loving thing that you can do for the holidays. If you want a gift to give your loved ones, get your advance planning sorted. I can't stress it enough. I want to go door to door like a Jehovah's Witness and just be like, excuse me, have you done advanced planning today? So please think about it. If you can't make the step of getting the paperwork right now, then just verbally, make sure that you get some kind of confirmation from your loved ones of what they would want. Use me. Just say, hey, this crazy lady I saw on Facebook is stalking me to get her advanced planning sorted, so what do you think, Kate says, I can tell you I won't want to talk about that if I'm trying to spend my last special moments with the loved one. That's a great point too. Like if you do have a loved one in an emergency situation that is, close to being between worlds, do you want to spend that time talking about these things? Don't you want to talk about it in advance and then just have it sorted and then just know? And then the last moments, the last days or months that you might have with that loved one, you don't even have to think about it. They don't have to think about it. You don't have to think about it. That's the thing. Thanks, Kate. That is a great point. Yes, must talk about this as soon as possible while it's too early. It's true. And if you look at the Conversation Project out of DC, they say it's always too soon to talk about until it's too late. Christina Kuzmich, hi. Christina says, so important to talk about it, and I don't think there's ever a wrong time. Christina's, she's along my lines. We think the same way. Although I know many people who disagree and think that all the time is the wrong time to bring this up. But that's why I've completely changed careers and created Good to Go, and it's my passion. And I'm passionate out there because I know that it's going to make people who are grieving feel a lot better, because I am living proof. My mom was not good to go. I didn't have it created then, and she passed away, and I went through hell with that. And then my granny passed away, and then I went through hell with that. And so I created Good to Go, and my dad came to a Good to Go party, and I closed his estate in 3 months. I knew everything that he wanted, and it just allowed me to grieve. And in the early days of grief, all I did was listen to George Harrison's All Things Must Pass. And I think I posted the Jim James Jim James version, who's the lead singer of My Morning Jacket. He did a beautiful version of All Things Must Pass. And I just found it so comforting, just to know that somebody out there, understands. And George, his music lives on, and he still lives in our hearts. I listen to George probably, I'd say at least once a week still. And so grateful for his presence, and his music is just so comforting. So anyway, I'm going to wrap up. It was lovely to talk to you guys. Hang in there. We're going to get through the holidays together. It's going to be a good one. I'm going to think differently. I'm going to think more about the lives that my parents lived rather than the life that they no longer have. And I think that's gonna help. It's gonna make me feel a lot better if I can just remember that they both died really peacefully, and just knowing that they were loved, by me. And I always expressed that to them, and they expressed it back to me. And before I go, I just want to give a shout out to Christina, because it's a year anniversary since her grandmother passed away, and I know that she thinks about her. But then I also really feel in my heart that she's around, as all of our loved ones are, and we think of them, and especially during the holidays. I think that's why it hurts a little extra during the holidays, because I feel that they're closer to us. We think of them so much, and I think they're as close to us as they can be. Hey, Tanis, she's my husband of 25 years, passed away a year ago, November 9th, on a plane crash. Oh, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, but gosh, that's got to be a tough one. And that's a lot of history. So I am just giving you the biggest hug and sending out so much love to you, and just to remind you that, whatever you feel like doing over the holidays, just honor that, and just be gentle with yourself. This is going to take time, obviously. And, I know it's been a year, November 9th, but I'm sure it just still feels fresh. I mean, the year after all my loved ones died, I thought that I was being very present, and I look back on it, and it just seems like a blur. It just seems like a griefy, hazy blur. And I was a grief zombie. And I only feel that I'm just now starting to get my mojo back, although I had a little 2 steps back with the mojo with the grief over the holidays. But I'm just so sorry for your loss, and hope that you've got people to support you. And if not, maybe look into going to maybe a grief support group, or at least some kind of grief therapy, because that's a tough one. That's really a tough one. But I'm sure that his soul is still with you, and wouldn't want you to be so devastated, and is probably sending all his love to you. Oh, so you're sharing you're just now settling his estate. Yeah, I wish I could shout in the mountain how important it is to have this plan in place. Girl, shouting from the mountains with you. I am trying to tell everybody to get their advanced planning sorted. You are living proof of, how rough it is. So now you're just now settling as a state. So that's about a year and a month or so. So it's just get your advanced planning done, you guys. You can visit me on Instagram and Twitter at Good to Go Peace, and you can order departure files from the website goodtogopeace.org. And I'm sending you guys all my love, and hope that you're going to have a great week. And I will talk to you next week. I'll see you next week, and hang in there, and sending you lots of love. All right. Take care, you guys. Bye.